I'm Dan Hilfernan, and this is my wife Monica, and Pat was our son. We just treated Patrick just as if he was, just same as his other siblings and all. We did everything with him. As far as schoolwork was concerned, we always told his teachers he was required to do everything else that all the other students were required to do. And his siblings just treated him the same way.
I'm the hockey fan in the family, and we would watch together, and then we started going to games together, and he really, really enjoyed it. And his teachers at school were looking for something, his PT and his OT, some sort of sport for the kids that were in the handicap accessible room, for lack of a better word. They had their own homeroom where they could go in the morning and then just get set for the day, and then they'd go off for their classes. Well, those kids couldn't go to the normal gym class, but they also wanted to have some sort of gym class. So Pat approached the PT and the OT, this was in middle school rather, and said, I really like hockey, can we make that happen? And they did. He was diagnosed at 3. So it came as a little bit of a shock. Back in 1987, when he was diagnosed, you had to read in a book. And it said that the life expectancy was 19. And Dan found me in our family room crying, reading this book. So it affected us from day one, because now we were concerned that we were having another child. Would this child also have Duchenne muscular dystrophy? So it kind of became a little bit of a whirlwind for those few weeks.
Again, we were supportive in all he wanted to do. And he did the research. He was always very good about that, going online and looking and finding that there was, in fact, other power wheelchair hockey teams in other parts of the country and in some of the major cities. And he said, this is something I want to do.
Well, I guess the first players were the other students at school, in the middle school. And some of those players, like Lauren Shipman, is one of the original players from the hockey team, and some of the other kids at school. So they would play on Thursday afternoons in the gym. They would have their gym time, but then they would come together on Thursday afternoon if there were kids that went to other schools, and they would come together at Penncrest, his high school, and they would play for a couple hours after school, and that's while he was in high school. And then once he graduated, that's when Philadelphia Power Play came about. He started a website. People found his website, and it just kind of evolved. People talked to people in a grocery store and said, talked about the team. And one of the players on the team, Liam Miller, we met him when he was about 4 years old at a Flyers game. So it just kind of happened organically.
First interaction, I think I was just intimidated by him because it was his team. But obviously I was a kid, so I looked up to him right away. But yeah, he was the man. So he had a commanding presence, I think, is what I first remember from him.
I've been playing with the team for about, I guess, 17 years or 18 years. It's been a while. I started almost at the beginning, but not quite. I think the team started in 2003, and I found them a little, I think, at the end of 2003. I didn't know what to expect. I would play with my brother, street hockey. I had played hockey before, but I never really played on a team. I didn't know what to expect. Yeah, but I was a little nervous, going into a new venture.
Pat, I think, was the one that organized it. He was the one that got the team together. Once the team was established, we formed an advisory committee that Pat was on, that was kind of behind the scenes, making sure that the venues were taken care of, the day-to-day operations of the team happened, and Pat spearheaded all of that. I believe he did some research online to see how it was played, and that's where he saw it. So then he took it to occupational therapists and the physical therapist, showed them, said, okay, this is what we need. We need a wiffle ball and some sticks, and they took it from there and were able to get the equipment to get started. It was trial and error those first couple times to figure out what worked best for each student, because each student had a different ability, and they would have to figure out how to do it for each student. And once they got that down, then the team got into a rhythm, And when a new player would come along, they would have a really good idea of what that player needed.
He was always one of the first too. If we had an uneven number of players on a given Saturday, that he'd be the first to volunteer not to play, just so that everybody else could play.
We played at Archbishop Prendergast High School for a while in Drexel Hill in Delaware County. And that happened kind of by accident. We were at a track meet for all sorts of handicaps. It was run through the United Cerebral Palsy. And we got talking to the mom of one of the students that was on their track team that we really didn't know. Got to talking to her about the team and said, oh, we have this team and we're looking for a venue to play. And she said, my husband coaches basketball at Archbishop Prendergast, you can play there. So that's kind of how that happened. So, and then one of our other players, Lauren Shipman, was a student at Newman University in Aston. She went to them and said, we have a hockey team. That's how we got to play there. So when Pat passed away, there were quite a few messages on Facebook, on social media, thanking him, for everything that he had done to get them onto this hockey team and meet this whole new group of people. So yeah, it really was quite a tribute to Pat.
He left the team in such a good spot, and he created this for everybody, so it kind of changed everybody's life.
I think the other thing that's really neat, and again, maybe Pat didn't foresee this, but when you guys started playing in tournaments and playing teams from Michigan and Minnesota and North Carolina and Ottawa and Toronto, et cetera, was the friendships that you guys developed. And this day and age, through Facebook and other means of technology and all and communication, that you guys can communicate and talk and develop friendships with players throughout the United States and in Canada.
Well, we would get calls from a parent. For instance, one of the players on the team, he lives in the Scranton area, and his dad called one day and talked to Pat. And Pat told him all about the team. He talked about his son. His son has the same kind of muscular dystrophy as Pat. And the first Saturday that they came, the father was so grateful. He just could not believe what he found for his son. And it brought a tear to his eye. It's like, I've been looking for something. We've been out there. We've been trying to find something. And thank God for Pat, and we found you guys. So that always made Pat feel so good that he could help a family that was, and everybody's always so grateful, that we have this venue. But like just different things like that happen that made him feel so good that, I did something good and I can help somebody else. And again, then we all become one big family, and it's a friendship for everyone. It started with the first tournament that we had in 2011, the first one that we hosted. And someone, I think it was a former coach, knew somebody at the Flyers. We've been connected with the Flyers for 10 years now. And it was another relationship that just evolved. A couple of the players, a couple of the alumni, the old alumni came out and got to know the players. And then it's like anything else. Who talks to whom? They went back and talked to some of the other guys and said, hey, we met this team. Let's try to play a game against them. So it just evolved over time. He would be beside himself to know that. That would be such an honor for him, that because of him, the Flyers, we developed that relationship early on. And after Pat passed away, they asked us if we would like to become the first team affiliated. And I know he would have been beyond thrilled to be able to wear that Flyers jersey and represent the Flyers organization. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I get to wear that, and I get to say I'm part of the Philadelphia Flyers power play, it's unbelievable. It's really hard to describe what that means. And when we get to play the alumni games where we get to play the old Flyers, and it's just amazing.
This is pretty cool, right? I don't know, it's just, I think I would want him to see where we're at now, because I think he'd be excited to see where we're at.
7 seconds. Liam Miller just going to take it to the corner. Actually, there's a shot by Martins. Now Pitts, 1 second to go. And